There's a certain feeling every musician knows. You walk into a gig, you set up your gear, you tune up, you sound check, you look around. 5 people. 2 of them work there. And one's just waiting for his takeaway pizza. Welcome to the glamorous life of live music. Today we're going to talk about how to perform to small crowds without losing your mind, or worse, your motivation. So in this video we're diving into the psychology of performing to small crowds, how to stay motivated, keep your energy up, and maybe even enjoy the gig instead of silently plotting your retirement halfway through Wonderwall. If you've ever felt invisible on stage, this one's for you. By the end of it, you'll not only feel a little bit less alone in those moments, you'll have a few mental tricks to turn your next dead gig into a win, or at least a better story. Stick around. Look, I'm aware that after posting a video of myself getting into a brawl on stage a couple of weeks ago, my how to stay professional advice might sound a bit rich, but I've also done thousands of gigs where everything went right. I just didn't film those. So I still feel pretty qualified to talk about what works and what absolutely doesn't. Maybe even more so now. So thanks to those of you who are sticking with me. Why small crowds mess with your head? Playing to a small crowd can be brutal on the ego. It's quiet, you can hear conversations, you can hear the air conditioning. When someone gets up to go to the toilet, you notice. Big crowds are easy, there's noise, there's movement, there's energy. You can ride it like a wave, but small crowds, they're like staring into a mirror that's also judging you. And here's the trap. A lot of musicians match the crowd's energy. When it's quiet, every little sound makes you hyper aware. You start overthinking everything. Your tone, your timing, even your breathing. The silence after your first song can feel like cracking a joke as you step into an elevator full of people who didn't laugh. Brutal. But that's when a lot of musicians unconsciously dial down their effort. The crowd's quiet, so they go quiet too. But that's the exact opposite of what you should do. A pro doesn't wait for energy, they generate. An amateur, if the room's dead, they play dead. If the audience is flat, they go flat. That's not what pros do. Pros flip it around. They lead the energy, they absorb it. Because the truth is, your job doesn't change based on how many chairs are full. You're being paid to perform, not to wither away every time someone forgets to clap. It's happened so often to me that I quickly forget about it and I just laugh in my head without feeling the slightest bit of discomfort anymore. To be honest, it's probably the norm at most gigs. They can start that way often, get used to it. The mindset shift. This part's crucial. You have to stop seeing small gigs as lesser gigs. You could be playing to 5 people who remember you for years or 500 who forget you by morning. Think of it as training with extra resistance. No distractions, no crowd, no noise to hide behind. You've got to carry the entire vibe yourself. And the weird thing is those quiet gigs often make you better. When you're not distracted by the noise, you start hearing yourself. You notice timing, tone, little habits you didn't before. You get tighter if you can just focus on yourself. Plus, there's no pressure. If you screw up, chances are no one noticed, and if they did, they'll forget by dessert. So stop thinking of small gigs as failures. They're your practice grounds for the big ones. They're your live rehearsal with witnesses. And they reveal who you really are as a performer. When the crowd is thin, your professionalism gets tested. Because anyone can play when the room's packed. It takes a real pro to play their heart out when it's near empty. If this video's helping, hit like. If not, hit it anyway. I'm measuring my self-worth in thumbs now. Subscribe to this channel and you'll learn how to survive the live gig circuit without ending up bitter, broke, or in a brawl. When the gig is beyond saving. Now look, let's be honest. Some gigs are just beyond salvaging, right? The ones, 3 people in the audience, sitting with their arms folded, looking at you like you're a pop-up they can't close. You play a song and they stay perfectly still, as if reacting would extend their sentence. You try some banter and it lands like a balloon animal at a board meeting. All you can think of is, I'd rather be watching the progress bar on a software update. It's like writing a novel that changes lives and your Amazon review says, didn't arrive on time. It's just a letdown, right? And I'll be straight with you, gigs like that still get me down. I did one yesterday. It got to me. Even after all these years, sometimes they just beat you mentally. Because it's hard not to take it personally. You spend decades honing your craft, perfecting your set list, working on your tone, your delivery, your professionalism. And there you are again, giving it everything while three strangers sit 10 feet away with their backs to you, pretending you're a radio they didn't turn on. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And that's okay. It's okay to let a gig get to you once in a while. You're human. Let it out. Say fuck this gig in your head while smiling like you're a poster for workplace mental health. Vent to your friends or even in the comments here. Other musos understand this feeling all too well. Maybe your friends don't. Just don't let those nights start to define who you are as a musician. Pack it away, file it under character building experiences I didn't ask for, and start fresh on the next one. Because the next gig might be great, and you won't get there if you let the bad ones poison you. Mental tricks to stay motivated. Treat it like a private concert. If you've got 6 people, that's 6 front row seats. Make eye contact, smile, personalise it. You're not losing an audience, you're gaining intimacy. Focus on improvement, not applause. Use the space to tighten transitions, test new songs, or just adjust EQ. This is your low pressure lab session. Play that song you avoid playing because you're still fine tuning it. It's a perfect situation to learn how to recover gracefully, either musically or emotionally if you make a mistake. And if you don't, who gives a rat's? And remember, the quietest gigs often lead to the best connections. I can't count the times I've had people sit silently all night and then walk up the end saying, "Mate, you're amazing. Can you play at my party next month?" And earn 3 times what you would at this gig in cash. Stage presence still matters. Don't let the energy in the room dictate how you move. Still smile, still talk to the audience, look like you're enjoying yourself, even if you're not, because your body language isn't just for them, it's for you. When you move and act confident, your brain follows. But remember, while it's good to look engaged, just not please someone notice me engaged, right? Try not to call out the small crowd. Tough crowd tonight, guess everyone's at the footy. Those lines don't break the ice, they melt it. The people who showed up deserve the best version of you. Give them the show they came for, not the apology for the crowd that didn't. Or if you do feel like saying something funny to acknowledge the lack of audience, make sure you follow it with, "But I really appreciate those of you who are still here, so thank you for hanging with me." It brings them into the fold and can make them even feel a bit proud of themselves for giving moral support to a perceived underdog. So you can use it, just make sure you do the old switcheroo at the end. Why these gigs matter more than you think. You never really know who's watching. The right person might be sitting quietly in the corner and that could turn into your next booking, right? But I've covered that ad nauseum in other videos, right? More importantly, nights like this can build mental resolve. They train you to keep it together, to push through the miserable ones and sometimes even turn them around. I've always said I'd rather play for 1 table who's genuinely into it than 200 people who somehow can't hear your music over the sound of their own opinions. There's a real charge that happens when you connect with someone through music, right, on stage. It makes you play harder, smile more, and maybe most importantly, it stops you from sliding into that mental quicksand that hits when a gig feels endless. Playing to small crowds isn't a punishment, it's a proving ground. If you can bring energy to a half-empty pub, you're not just a musician, you're a performer. And that's what separates the good from the better. So don't judge the night by the numbers, judge it by your effort. Because real professionals don't wait for full rooms, they build them. And sometimes we also tear them down by starting a brawl on stage. But 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 1 small step for man, 1 giant leap into the arms of the cops. We live and learn. If you want to keep learning about the glamorous world of live gigging, there's another video waiting that'll make you slightly less miserable on stage. It might actually help you get through your next gig without mentally drafting your resignation letter to your agent.